He saved a child's life on a quiet Atlanta morning, but minutes later, he was in cuffs. What happens when good deeds meet deep-rooted bias? What the officers didn't realize would flip the whole situation upside down. Let me tell you something about how this world works, especially when your skin has a little too much melanin for some folks' comfort. My name's Jaden Walker. I teach history at Booker T. Washington Middle School, just outside of Atlanta. Been doing it 12 years. Never been late to class, never raised my voice without a reason, and I definitely ain't the kind of man who looks for trouble. But let me tell you, trouble sure knows how to find folks like me. That morning started just like any other. I left the house early, grabbed a coffee from B's Diner on the corner. They still serve it in real mugs, bless their old school souls. And I was on my way to pick up Miss Louise, my elderly neighbor. Sweetest woman you'll ever meet. 83 years old and still argues with the church organist every Sunday like she's 30. Every Friday, I take her to the clinic for her blood pressure check. I don't do it for praise. I do it because it's the right damn thing to do. So I'm walking out of the diner, paper cup in one hand, breakfast sandwich in the other, when I see this little boy, couldn't have been more than 5, shoot out from behind a parked car and dart right into the street. His mama screaming, "Folks are frozen." And me? I dropped that sandwich like it never mattered and sprint. I barely caught the kid's jacket before a delivery van rushed by, missing us by inches. I could feel the heat off that engine. I handed the boy back to his mom. She's crying, holding on to him like she's never letting go. People around started clapping. Some older man patted me on the back and said, "Son, you saved that baby's life." Felt good, I won't lie, for about 20 seconds. That's when the black and white rolled up. 2 officers, both white. One had the permanent frown of someone who hated his job but loved the authority. The other looked too young to be carrying a badge, but already had that same tired look of suspicion in his eyes. The older one stepped out and barked, "Hey, hands where I can see them." Now see, here's where my blood started to warm up. I just saved a child's life. Folks are still watching. I turn slowly, keep my hands where the sun can shine through them, and ask calmly, "Is there a problem, officer?" "Got a call about a suspicious male loitering near the cafe," he says. "You match the description." And I'm standing there wearing khakis and a staff badge that literally says teacher on it, and this man thinks I'm suspicious. What, saving children in broad daylight now a criminal act? Before I can say another word, he grabs my wrist. The younger one pulls my other arm back. The cuffs snap on like they've been waiting for me all week. That applause I heard earlier, gone. Dead quiet now. A few folks pull out their phones. The boy's mother steps forward. "Officer, he saved my son. You're arresting the wrong man." The older cop doesn't even blink. "Ma'am, please step back." I try to speak, try to explain. "I'm a teacher. I've been standing right here. I didn't do anything but help." He cuts me off. "We'll figure it out down at the station." "Figure what out, sir?" I get shoved into the back of the cruiser, hands behind my back, face burning hotter than Georgia asphalt. I can see my sandwich still on the sidewalk. Smashed. Just like my pride. Let me tell you something real clear. This wasn't about matching any damn description. This was about seeing a black man in a space where they didn't expect gratitude, they expected guilt. And when they didn't find any guilt, they made some up. What happened next changed everything. And I mean everything. You do not want to miss how this story takes a turn no one saw coming. You ever sit in a room so quiet it feels like your own breath is making too much noise? That's where I was. Back seat of that cruiser felt more like a rolling coffin. The cops didn't say a word on the ride, didn't ask questions, didn't read me my rights, just rolled those windows up and kept their hands on the wheel like they'd caught a war criminal. And me? I sat there thinking about Miss Louise, probably waiting on her porch right now, umbrella in one hand, Bible in the other. She'd call me if I was 5 minutes late. Now I was 30 minutes deep into the longest ride of my life, heading to a place I had no business being in. They brought me to a precinct that looked like it hadn't been dusted since '92. Cold steel benches, fluorescent lights that buzzed like they were tired too. One of the officers, the younger one, unlocked the cuffs without so much as eye contact. No explanations, no questions, just a nod toward a gray chair in a holding room. Now here's the part that gets under your skin. They didn't even book me. No fingerprints, no mugshot, no paper trail. Just sat me down in that room and left me. Door didn't even close all the way. I could hear officers laughing about fantasy football down the hall. I sat there watching a cockroach crawl across the corner like it owned the place. Probably did. 40 minutes passed. Then the older cop, the one who grabbed me, came in with a folder, slapped it down like it had something real inside. "So," he said, leaning back in the metal chair opposite me, "you want to tell me what you were really doing outside that diner?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "Picking up breakfast. Saved a child from getting hit. That's it." He snorted like I'd just told him aliens landed in aisle 5. People say anything when they're nervous. Now I'd love to tell you I stayed calm, but my hands were shaking under the table. Not from fear, from restraint. This man wasn't asking because he wanted to understand. He was asking because he already made up his mind. I said nothing, just stared at that badge on his chest, wondering how many folks before me sat in this same room for doing absolutely nothing wrong. How many of them walked out? How many didn't? He leaned in, eyes narrowing. "See, when someone fits a description, we take it seriously. You think you're above suspicion just because you teach at some school?" That's when I cracked a smile. Couldn't help it. "Suspicion?" I said. "For drinking coffee and saving a kid's life? You got a smart mouth." "No, sir. Just tired of dumb questions." His jaw twitched, but he didn't move. He reached for a piece of paper, blank, mind you, and said, "You're free to go once we verify some things. But if I were you, I'd be real careful about what I post online." Online. That's when it clicked. Something was happening out there. Something he knew and didn't like. See, while I was locked up in their little gray waiting room, the world kept spinning. That video, the one someone took when I saved the kid, that was out there now, floating through group chats, hitting social media like wildfire. They knew it, and you could see it in how their tone changed. Subtle, but real. The older cop left the room, and this time it was silent. No buzzing lights, no football talk, just tension. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew this. They were stalling, trying to figure out how to put the toothpaste back in the tube. And me, I was done waiting. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for, it's here. Stick around to see how the truth shattered the silence and how one man made the system answer for itself. Now, I ain't a man who believes in miracles, but I believe in timing. About 2 hours into that silent waiting game, the door creaked open like it had something to confess. In walked a woman in her early 30s, sharp suit, afro like it meant business. She didn't knock, didn't smile, just marched in holding a manila folder and a confidence that filled up the room. "You Jaden Walker?" she asked. I nodded slow. "That depends. You here to help or here to guess what I was really doing too?" She cracked a grin. Not much, but just enough to say, "I see you." "I'm Layla Brooks, Civil Rights Legal Defense Fund. You've been trending online for 2 hours straight." That caught my attention. Then she opened her laptop and turned it to face me. There I was, on camera, pulling that little boy out of the street like a scene out of a movie. Then not 10 seconds later, 2 officers rolling up like I'd stolen a bank instead of saving a life. The crowd's voices, the mother screaming, "He saved my son." It was all right there. "So let me get this straight," she said, sliding a paper toward me. "They detain you, didn't charge you, denied your phone call, and tried to bury this whole thing with their own body cams running?" I blinked. "Wait, they had their cams on?" "Oh, they did, and I've already subpoenaed the footage." Now let me tell you, I ain't never smiled wider in a cold gray room. That smile grew even more when Layla stood up, walked straight past me, and into the hallway like she owned the whole precinct. 5 minutes later, I was called to the front desk. The young cop was standing there trying real hard not to make eye contact. "You're, uh, free to go." No apology, no explanation. Just keys to the cuffs they never should have used. I looked him dead in the face. Funny how quick things change when folks start watching. I stepped outside and what I saw nearly knocked the breath out of me. A crowd. People from the neighborhood, folks from my school, even Miss Louise, who was sitting in a lawn chair somebody brought her, wrapped in a quilt like she was watching history happen. Someone shoved a phone in my face. Reporters were already there. Microphones, flashes, the whole circus. But I didn't care about the lights. I cared about the truth. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm not a hero. I did what any decent person should do." But what happened after, that wasn't decent. That wasn't justice. That was fear, assumptions, a broken system that sees the worst in us before it ever looks for the truth. My voice cracked a little, but I kept going. If there hadn't been a camera, y'all know how this ends. I'd be just another incident with no witnesses and no record. But this time the truth got caught on tape, and the crowd clapped. Not because I gave a speech, but because I was still standing. Within a week, the video hit national headlines. The department scrambled to review procedures. One officer was put on unpaid leave. The other, well, let's just say his retirement came early. But this ain't about revenge. It's about reminder. Reminder that some folks still get profiled in daylight after saving a child's life. Reminder that silence helps the system breathe. But cameras? Cameras make it choke. And reminder that every story like mine needs to be told until stories like mine stop happening. They tried to erase the truth, but the truth recorded itself. And this time, we made damn sure it got heard.